In 2019, Lionel Messi bought a penthouse in Miami, $9 million. Ocean views, paradise. Since then, his building has sunk 3 inches into the Atlantic Ocean, and it's still sinking. He's not alone. 35 luxury towers along Miami's coastline are disappearing beneath the waves, millimeters per year, unstoppable, accelerating. The last time a Miami building showed these warning signs, 98 people died in 12 seconds. That was one building. This time it's 35. And the people inside, most of them have no idea. But here's what makes this truly terrifying. The richest, smartest people in America just moved there. Jeff Bezos, Ken Griffin, Peter Thiel. What do they have in common? They all moved to Miami. Billions in wealth, relocating entire companies, chasing the American dream in South Florida. No state income tax, pristine beaches, endless sunshine. Wall Street South, they call it now. Miami became the fastest growing metro area in America. Everyone wanted in. And developers, they couldn't build fast enough. Porsche Design Tower, 3-car elevators straight to your penthouse, Trump Tower 3, Ritz-Carlton residences, mansions at Aquilina. These aren't just buildings, they're statements, monuments to success. But there's a problem that's been hiding in plain sight, and scientists just found it using satellites from space. University of Miami, December 2024. A research team led by Professor Falk Amelung published a study in the Earth and Space Science journal that changed everything. They weren't looking for sinking buildings. We thought it was very stable, Amelung said, but it is not as stable as we thought. The technology they used is called INSAR. Satellites like the Sentinel-1 take images of buildings from space with millimeter-level accuracy. What they found shocked them. 35 buildings, sinking, 2 to 8 centimeters over just 7 years. And for some buildings, it's not slowing down, it's accelerating. But why would billion-dollar towers built to last centuries be sinking into the ocean? The answer is buried beneath their foundations, and it's not what you think. Imagine building the heaviest structures in America on a foundation made of Swiss cheese. That's essentially what Miami did. Beneath these skyscrapers lies Miami limestone, or oolite. It's porous, filled with holes, made from ancient coral fossils and shells, and mixed throughout, layers of sand. Geologists drilled down at the Porsche Design Tower and found something terrifying. Nearly 50% of the underground structure is actually shifting sand, not solid rock. When you build a 50-story tower weighing millions of tons and start pile driving next door, that loose sand begins to rearrange. It compacts, it shifts, and once that process starts, it never stops. This is what scientists call creep deformation. It's a slow, continuous movement of solid material under prolonged stress. Usually a building settles a few months after construction and then stops. In Miami, buildings completed a decade ago, buildings that should be perfectly still, are suddenly waking up and sinking again. But gravity isn't the only enemy. Every day the ocean tide pulses through those sandy layers like a heartbeat. And when the city injects fresh water into the ground to stop street flooding, it creates a chemical attack. Fresh water dissolves limestone. When you mix that with the salt water rising from below, the corrosion accelerates. Think about that for a second. Your building isn't just sitting on unstable ground. The ground itself is being dissolved beneath you. But it's not just your building you have to worry about. It's your neighbor. Here is the most alarming discovery of the 2024 study: the chain reaction. When a new tower is built, the vibrations and the weight don't just affect that site. They destabilize everything within 200 to 320 meters. In Sunny Isles Beach, nearly 70% of recently built high-rises are currently sinking. When they built the Turnberry Ocean Club in 2018, the marina's resort next door, which had been stable for 10 years, suddenly started dropping. The same thing happened when the estates at Aquilina went up. The Pinnacle building 300 meters away immediately began to sink. Every new crane you see in the Miami skyline is effectively melting the ground beneath the buildings around it. And Miami has its first ever super tall, over 300 meters high, currently under construction. June 24, 2021, Surfside, Florida, 1:23 a.m. In 12 seconds, the Champlain Towers South condominium collapsed. 98 people. The investigation pointed to structural rot and neglect. but scientists used the same satellite technology to look for sinking. Champlain Towers wasn't the one sinking, but while the world was focused on that tragedy, the satellites revealed that 35 other towers were disappearing into the earth. The collapse wasn't the warning, it was the distraction. So, if you're a billionaire who just moved to Wall Street South, what do you do when the ground fails? Imagine you paid $30 million for a penthouse. Your building is sinking. Can you sell it? Insurance companies are already pulling out of Florida. Banks are getting nervous. If word officially spreads that these elite addresses are geologically compromised, the market will collapse. Some developers knew. Reports from as far back as 2016 warned about this unstable ground, but the cranes never stopped moving. There is $1.3 trillion in real estate at stake, and while the city spends $5 billion on new seawalls and pumps to fight the rising ocean, they are ignoring the fact that the buildings are actually moving down to meet the water. Professor Emma Lung warns that without a drastic change in construction policy, these skyscrapers could plummet another 20 centimeters in the coming years, a distance that could be the difference between a stable structure and a total failure. By 2060, experts predict that 60% of Miami won't just be flooded, it will be reclaimed by the ocean, leading researchers to a chilling conclusion: the tide is coming in, and eventually it won't go back out. This is a mathematical countdown where the ultra-luxury penthouses of today are destined to become the haunted shipwrecks of tomorrow. What happens when the world's smartest investors realize their safe haven is actually a house of cards built on dissolving sand? They will do what the elite always do. They will liquidate their assets and disappear. But the residents left behind, the families with their entire life savings anchored into these concrete towers, will be trapped in a city that is literally moving down to meet the rising tide. Miami is merely the starting point of a global crisis. Jakarta is already relocating its entire capital due to uncontrollable subsidence, while New York City continues to sink under its own massive weight at a rate of 2 millimeters per year. This represents the ultimate clash between human engineering and the relentless force of nature, marking a shift where the classic American dream of a house with a white picket fence has been replaced by the high-stakes allure of an ocean view penthouse. However, as satellite data confirms, nature is reclaiming its territory millimeter by millimeter, proving that even $1 trillion cannot hold back the tide forever. If you had billions, would you still risk it all on an address that's geologically compromised? Or is technology finally meeting its match? Let us know in the comments below, and if you found this forensic breakdown insightful, subscribe to grandprojectfiles and hit the bell icon to never miss an investigation into the world's most ambitious and dangerous megaprojects. To see how humanity is fighting back by building cities that actually float to survive, check out our next video right here. See you in the next one.